What if the four fallen angels weren't punished, but summoned for something greater? For centuries, history has been told by those who claimed victory or thought they had. But in forgotten manuscripts, hidden between the margins of sacred texts and the fading echoes of suppressed oral traditions, another version surfaces, a version where Lucifer was never alone, where his rebellion wasn't an act of pride, but part of a calculated design, a secret council. Four angels, a purpose buried beneath layers of fear and silence. Why does the Bible go quiet when the scandal runs too deep? In the apocryphal Ethiopian tradition, in the Book of Enoch, there are mentions of figures beyond Lucifer names that were erased, voices that whispered against heaven and were silenced. Semyaza, Azazel, Arakiel, Penemue. They weren't just followers, they were leaders, each with a role, each with knowledge of what was to come, each knowing the price would be eternal. But what if that price had already been agreed upon from the very beginning? What if the rebellion was part of a much deeper divine plan? If God knew everything, why allow it? The canonical scriptures never explain how beings made of light could crave the darkness. But the forbidden texts speak of deals of knowledge, deals sealed in blood, deals made among equals. Why were some names banned from sermons and scrubbed from translations? In the ancient Dead Sea Scrolls, fragments speak of a council convened in the shadow of the throne, discussing matters too dangerous even for the seraphim to hear. They didn't just plan to fall, they planned to reshape creation. Four winged figures walking among dying stars, whispering secrets while eternity holds its breath. On a Sumerian tablet sealed for over 1,000 years, there's a symbol of four swords pointing upward, the same pattern later found in the sealed crypts beneath the Vatican. Coincidence, or remnants of a forbidden sacred pact? What was discussed in that secret council? And why is there still fear in even speaking the names involved? Does what was agreed upon in the shadows still govern the light? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. What if the four fallen angels were chosen by Lucifer to rewrite the destiny of creation? The official story calls them traitors, but the erased records describe them as founders of a new path. Lucifer didn't act alone. He gathered four entities, each with unique powers and purposes, forming what ancient writings called the Council of the Light Dissidents. Each had a role, each a key to defy the divine order. Why four? Why not an army? In the Book of Enoch, the Watchers are mentioned as mere observers. But not all simply watched. Some chose to act. Semyaza, the strategist. Azazel, the forge master. Arakiel, the architect of elements. Penemu, the keeper of forbidden knowledge. Four pillars. Four codes, united not by rebellion, but by purpose. What if these angels didn't fall, but accepted a sacrifice to free creation from something even mankind can't comprehend? Who gains from the eternal silence surrounding their names? While traditional scriptures condemn their actions, Gnostic texts speak of a mission sealed before the foundation of the world. In a lost version of the Dead Sea Scrolls, Penemue is said to have whispered the name of the true first command, an order of liberation, not destruction. What if they never wanted to take the throne, but rebuild it? A chamber made of pure light, corrupted by echoes of divine decisions. Four shadows standing before a cosmic map, galaxies marked like pieces in a celestial wargame. At the center, Lucifer, not as king, but as the conductor of the inevitable. Ancient Aramaic texts describe a celestial code divided into four tablets. Each tablet was entrusted to one angel, containing secrets even the archangels were forbidden to access. Those tablets vanished, but one fragment is said to have been discovered in the Qumran caves, wrapped in forbidden symbols. What lies within them that humanity was never meant to read? What did Lucifer promise the four angels to make them accept the fall? And the most disturbing question of all, did they truly fall, or are they still among us, operating in the unseen? Who holds the threads of reality? While we pretend to control our fate, if this message stirred something in you, like this video, and helped spread the word, what if the original sin didn't begin with Adam, but with the oath of four angels at the edge of the throne? Long before Eden, long before matter, In the silence before creation, there was an oath. Between the Word and the light, Lucifer and 4 angels met on a plain beyond time. There they sealed the first unauthorized pact in all of eternity, a pact not even the Most High revoked. Semyaza spoke first. If one falls, we all fall. Azazel sealed it with celestial blood, forbidden to touch flesh. Arakiel drew the symbol into the firmament. Penemu etched the name of the pact into a dead star. Then Lucifer spoke the word, a word that exists in no mortal tongue, a word that tore the veil between obedience and freedom. Why is the fall of the angels described, but the real reason never revealed? If everything was part of God's design, why was such an oath ever allowed to be made? In a fragment of the Revelation of Daniel, a text buried in the 3rd century, there is a direct mention of the pact. They did not fall, but disconnected, for there was something in the plan that could only be done outside the light. One line was erased by medieval copyist monks, and the one who led did not betray. He fulfilled what was agreed. 5 beings gathered on a cosmic field, eyes closed, wings in ruin. At the center, a sphere of light slowly torn apart. And from within it, something new emerged, a spark with free will. The price of freedom? Eternal exile. According to ancient Gnostic Gospels, the pact was sealed outside of linear time, in a plane beyond creation, where past, present, and future collapse into one. Who still guards this pact today? In the hidden iconography of the Order of the Black. Knights of Lion, a Christian sect, hunted by the Inquisition, their secret crest bore 4 fallen wings, crossed by a broken sword. They would say, "We serve the first covenant, not the second throne." Could this be a direct bloodline of those who knew the pact? But what was promised? And more terrifying, is this pact still unfolding? If the 4 still operate in the shadows, what is the Council's next move? Subscribe. What comes next is even darker. What if the greatest empires in history were built under the guidance of fallen angels? Rome, Babylon, Egypt, Atlantis, all these names echo power. But what if true power was never on the thrones, but behind them? After the celestial pact, Lucifer vanishes from the heavens, but his 4 allies don't fall all at once. They descend slowly across different eras, taking on subtle forms. Invisible to human eyes, yet deeply embedded in the decisions that shaped centuries. Semyaza taught how to bend wills. Azazel revealed weapons and metals. Arakiel shared secrets of the earth, architecture, astrology, and construction. Penemu taught writing, deception, and indoctrination. They were the first teachers of mankind. Why do so many ancient myths speak of gods who came down from the sky to teach humanity? What if those gods were the same exiled angels? In the Sumerian texts, there are references to the Anunnaki, who descended to make man in their image and organize the kingdoms of the world. But what most people miss is that the names Semyaza and Azazel are encoded in cuneiform, hidden among gods with many titles. Was this the first infiltration of the council into the human realm? A stone throne being built beneath a falling star. Clay men receiving bronze tools from hands with black wings. Temples rising with celestial measurements. And always a shadow watching from above. In archaeological digs at the ancient city of Ebla in Syria, researchers uncovered a tablet containing a prayer to the 4 lords of the higher flame. That phrase never appears in traditional religious texts, yet the symbol carved below matches. Markings found in Ethiopian caves linked to the Book of Enoch. How can identical symbols appear in cultures that never connected? Who carried this knowledge through the ages? If the fallen angels have been shaping empires since the beginning, what was the real agenda behind it all? And what if the modern world is still the final stage of their original plan? Share this with someone who needs to see what was hidden. What if the first to confront the fallen angels wasn't a prophet, but a man forgotten by history? For millennia, the council operated in the shadows, building dynasties, toppling kingdoms, sowing ideas and doctrines without ever being noticed. But then, something unexpected happened. It wasn't an archangel, It wasn't a miracle. It was a man. In ancient Mesopotamia, where rivers carved kingdoms and the skies were read as sacred maps, arose Uriel, a name erased from biblical genealogies. A man who claimed to hear a voice. Unlike any angels, Uriel did not follow the gods. He challenged them, destroyed their symbols, broke their covenants, and told his followers, "They are not divine. They are exiles hungry for thrones." Why does history forget those who stood against the false gods? Fragments of Babylonian scrolls speak of a rebellious priest, expelled from the temple for blaspheming against the lords of the Black Star. This man reportedly vanished into the mountains with a band of followers. Centuries later, the Essenes called him the forerunner of the veiled light. Who was Uriel, and why were all records of him systematically destroyed? A man before a colossal statue with corrupted wings. He raises a torch and burns a golden scroll inscribed with celestial writing. Thunder rumbles in the distance, and eyes watch from the clouds. In the forbidden archives of the monastery of St. Catherine in Sinai, there's a Coptic manuscript describing a man as one who knew the 4 names, but never bowed. The manuscript ends with a phrase covered in wax. His blood still cries out beneath the earth. Was Uriel dead, or hidden under another identity? But what did Uriel discover that made the council retreat, if only for a time? And why does his lineage seem hunted generation after generation? Could humanity still carry in its blood the echo of that resistance? Have you ever wondered about this? Share your thoughts in the comments. What if part of what we call faith was designed by angels who wanted to be worshipped? Religions are meant to connect humans with the divine, but what if some were shaped to keep humanity away from the truth? After the fall and the rise of the first empires, the 4 fallen angels realized something. Controlling armies was useful, but controlling belief was absolute. They stopped hiding in the shadows. They became intermediaries of the sacred. Zemyaza taught rituals. Azazel forged idols. Arakiel built temples aligned with precise constellations. Penamue rewrote doctrine. What if parts of sacred texts were written by hands that had already fallen? How many modern rituals carry hidden codes of worship? In the Gnostic Gospels, a being known as the Archon of Light appears as a spiritual guide. But his teachings lead to domination, not liberation. Some scholars trace elements of Penamue to this figure. Others claim the Archon was responsible for inserting specific fragments into the Western belief system. What if doctrinal errors weren't mistakes, but intentional insertions? Altars rising over bones, holy books rewritten by the glow of black candles, angels in golden robes, but eyes empty of light. In the Vatican Library, there's a rejected gospel called Evangelium Demonis. It describes a group of angels who teach a faith that appears pure, but silently worships what was cast out. The church labeled it heresy, but the seals on that manuscript contain symbols identical to those found in Ethiopian texts of Enoch. Why hide this gospel? What did it contain that could unravel the entire foundation of faith? If the 4 fallen infiltrated religions, then who is truly being worshipped at the altars? And what if Lucifer never wanted to be worshipped, but simply to forget who he once was? Like this, if any part of it made you uncomfortable. What if the 4 fallen angels were never destroyed, just put to sleep, waiting for the signal? For centuries, it was believed that the rebellion had ended, that the fallen angels were punished, sealed, forgotten. But in buried traditions and non-canonical texts, a different story repeats itself. The council wasn't destroyed, it was silenced. Until now, their return wouldn't come through battles in the skies, not with lightning or trumpets, but through subtle signs scattered across nations in symbols, ideologies, and technologies. What if today's wars are just echoes of a plan set in motion millennia ago? What if the apocalypse isn't divine punishment, but a long-awaited coronation? According to the Apocalypse of Baruch, a text excluded from the biblical canon, there would come a time when the 4 black thrones would be claimed once more. But by whom? Some manuscripts suggest that each angel left behind an anchor in the world, something that would allow their return. For Azazel, the rule of iron over the spirit. For Semyaza, control of the mind through image. For Arakiel, destruction of nature and the earth's balance. For Penemu, the replacement of wisdom with information. Does today's world already fulfill all these signs? Digital towers blinking beneath dead stars. Religious icons replaced by corporate logos. 4 shadows rising from the center of a technological labyrinth. A codex found beneath the ruins of Nag. Hammadi, known as the Book of the Final Veil, describes the reactivation of the 4 seals. One of them, the text says, was broken in 1945 with the detonation of the first atomic bomb. Other researchers suggest the remaining seals have already been triggered, but disguised as milestones of human progress. What if progress is just the new language of celestial domination? If the 4 are returning, where is Lucifer? And the most chilling question, what if he never left? Subscribe. The truth doesn't end here. What if humanity wasn't the victim of the rebellion, but an essential part of Lucifer's plan? We were always told we were made in the image of the divine, but no one ever said which divinity. Genesis speaks of creation, but the apocryphal texts speak of something else. A copy, a reflection, an alternate plan set in motion by those who fell. In Gnostic writings, humanity appears not as a divine masterpiece, but as the result of a cosmic error or a stolen essence. Something crafted outside the original decree. Penemu gave humans the fire of letters, Azazel, the metal that wounds, Semyaza, the eye that controls, Arakiel, the map of the earth. It wasn't compassion, it was strategy. They didn't create humanity, they reprogrammed it. What if we are the continuation of the council? What if the original sin wasn't disobedience, but allegiance? The Apocryphon of John mentions a being named Yaldabaoth, who tries to block the awakening of humankind. But hidden between the lines, another voice speaks. And man shall know. And remember, he once sat in the council before the flesh. This line was removed in later translations. Why? Because it suggests some of us were already there. Human bodies floating among broken stars, DNA intertwining with tongues of fire, 4 shadows handing keys to a child who swallows them without knowing. During excavations in the ancient city of Ebla, an artifact was uncovered. A sealed cylinder marked with what appears to be Proto-Hebrew script. Translated, it reads, "The pact was written in the heart of flesh. They will forget, but they will answer the call." The cylinder vanished from the archaeological archives 6 months after its discovery. Who's trying to hide our true origin? If the council used humanity as part of its plan, what happens when that plan is complete? What if free will was never freedom, but a test to see who remembers first? Tag someone who would dare to watch until the end. What if Lucifer didn't rebel out of pride, but because of something he saw and could never unsee? It wasn't vanity, it wasn't envy, it was vision. Long before the fall, Lucifer glimpsed something within heaven's eternal archives. A fragment of the future, an image incomplete, yet disturbing even to the purest light. The throne empty, man at the center, and the angels silent. Was this the original plan? He questioned it, but in that realm to question was to defy. Why were we made to serve something so flawed? He reportedly asked. But it wasn't the question that sealed his fate. It was the decision to stop what was coming. What if the true rebellion was an attempt to protect heaven from the divine plan itself? What would make the light-bearer choose the fall over obedient silence? A fragment from the vision of Sariel, an Ethiopian manuscript rejected by church councils, states, "And the first of light saw the end, saw man become God, and saw the archangels remain silent." He did not rebel. He moved first. The church labeled it a threat to doctrine. But in certain occult sects, Sariel is honored as the one who recorded the truth. No throne dares to speak. Lucifer before a mirrored sea, not seeing himself, but seeing humanity ascend. Books of light closed by trembling hands, a sky shattering like fractured glass. Secret studies by 12th century rabbis speak of an inverted Shekinah, a divine glory that would leave heaven to dwell within man. Those rabbis were hunted. What if God's dwelling in man wasn't a miracle, but a replacement? If Lucifer saw the end, and the four angels carried out a plan to stop it? What happens next when everything is remembered? And even more disturbing, what if he was right? What if the greatest heresy is the truth no one had the courage to accept? It all began with a question, and ended with an imposed silence. Lucifer didn't fall, he was silenced. Not because he lied, but because he saw too much. The four angels didn't follow him out of rebellion. They knew the greater plan involved something the throne would never reveal. That humanity wasn't the end of creation, but its replacement. Heaven wasn't afraid of disobedience. It was afraid of awakening. What if the fallen council didn't challenge the light, but tried to save it from what was coming? What if the very idea of good and evil was designed to keep us blind? In a forbidden scroll attributed to Melchizedek, there's a final verse. And when the last veil falls, and man looks upward and inward at once, he will hear an ancient voice whisper, "Do you remember when we were five?" Five, not four. 5 consciousnesses bound by a single vow. Lucifer never wanted the throne. He wanted to stop the emptiness that would follow it. 5 figures in a circle, staring into a sphere of light as it shatters. The throne abandoned, and humanity on its knees, not realizing it was kneeling before itself. In restricted archives of the 17th century Orthodox Patriarchate, there are records of monks who had identical visions. A new celestial council, silent, watching Earth, not to judge, but to wait. The council wasn't destroyed. It's waiting, not to reclaim the throne, but to see if mankind will take the place it was given or forced into. What if Lucifer didn't challenge God, but challenged how we understand God? What if the true betrayal was making us forget who we were before the flesh? And if this is the truth, why are our eyes still shut? What if it's all real? Write your truth below.